We begin with a breaking news alert.
Good afternoon, and by now you've heard the stage is set for just the third presidential impeachment trial in U.S. history.
A new case has been confirmed in San Diego, bringing the total number of U.S. cases to 13.
While this is a serious health situation in China, the immediate risk of this virus to the American public remains low.
I have issued a proclamation declaring a state of emergency in Maryland.
What a great moment this was today. Look at this. Overwhelming relief for a Northern Virginia woman whose husband recovered from the coronavirus, and it was really touch and go. His wife said that he literally was on death's doorstep.
We've followed this story from the beginning, and now this Manassas man who was in a medically induced coma because of COVID-19 is now back home. ABC 7's Victoria Sanchez was there for this emotional reunion you'll see only on 7.
Some last-minute touches before the 21-mile drive Amanda Pomachan's been dreaming of since March 11th.
It's been 23 days.
She last saw her husband fighting for his life in Inova Fairfax Hospital's ICU. Today's the day 44-year-old Titu goes home. The wait is overwhelming, but worth it. The husband of 13 years and father of 3 recovered from COVID-19.
Oh my gosh, you ready to go home? The girls are ready.
Let's go.
Okay.
At last, he's home.
Daddy!
It's pure joy. It really is.
Titu's lost weight and is weak.
The whole thing was a blur. It's like it's living a nightmare.
I'm just looking for a way to visually portray that there's something really wrong, that there's something amiss. Noma, Georgetown, DuPont Circle. I've hit all those neighborhoods at different times of day, different kinds of people walking about. Some of them just exercising, getting some fresh air. Other people still going to work, of course, essential workers out and about, and just seeing how life is still going on in the public sphere. Okay, so I see this fellow. He looks like a businessman. He's actually running down the street. A number of my clients are kind of realizing, like, this is the new normal. We can't use the same pictures from last year with people walking in crowds and smiling at a big event or outdoor movie or something like that. We need to show people wearing masks in our neighborhood. 4 or 5 months ago, you could never imagine people wearing masks walking down Main Street, USA, or anywhere in Washington, D.C., really. To me, that's compelling. And that's what I'm trying to capture.
At noon every day, they change the numbers at the COVID Memorial exhibit near RFK from 260,000 yesterday, 2,400 more today.
It's a symbol of those we lost, and it does give you perspective.
Some visited as families on this Thanksgiving to remember specific loved ones.
My Aunt Judy died in Baltimore. Then more recently, my Aunt Irene passed.
Artist Suzanne Furstenberg gained the city's permission and began placing these white flags for each of America's COVID victims in October.
To see that many flags, maybe then people will realize the extent, the true immensity of this pandemic.
The numbers alone are astonishing.
You know, if Black Americans were dying at an equivalent rate as white Americans, what would that mean? And to date, it would mean 13,000 Black lives would have been spared.
Andy Egbert with American Public Media's Research Lab says that across the country, Black Americans are dying from coronavirus at twice the rate of whites, Latinos, and Asians.
And so those are, you know, mothers and fathers and grandparents and bus drivers, and, you know, it makes my heart ache.
But in the nation's capital, the disparity is much worse.
It was just astonishing to me.
I mean, sadly, the magnitude of the disparity is greater in DC than anywhere else.
While DC's population is 46% Black residents make up at least 75% of all coronavirus deaths. The DC Department of Health reports that at least 346 Black residents have lost their lives to COVID-19. compared to 53 whites.
BMS 936558. And that is what I have tattooed on my arm.
9 characters forever inked on his skin serve as a symbol of gratitude for cancer patient J.P. Hiremans.
This number on your arm, this is your lifeline.
Oh, God, yes. It's the reason why I'm talking to you right now.
Doctors told J.P. he had 9 months to live when he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And that tattoo honors the clinical trial he credits with extending his life by 7 years and counting.
Because of me starting this trial, I've been allowed to see my first grandson.
But access to potentially life-changing studies like the one J.P. Hiremans got has slowed dramatically because of the coronavirus pandemic.
There was a fairly sudden downturn in the number of new patients being enrolled in clinical trials.
Dr. Richard Shilsky with the American Society of Clinical Oncology says a recent study found enrollment in certain cancer clinical trials dropped by at least 50% earlier this year because of COVID-19.
In some cases, it became literally impossible to put a patient on a trial because the trial procedures were no longer available in the research facility where the trial was being performed.
Safety concerns, fear from patients, a lack of drug companies willing to sponsor trials, as well as limited staff and resources all played a role in the drop, according to Shilsky. And we found the impact of COVID isn't limited to fighting cancer. Spotlight on America dug into the federal database that tracks clinical trials and found more than 1,800 are currently suspended. Our investigation discovered hundreds of those have been shut down specifically because of coronavirus. And we found trials related to everything from Alzheimer's to asthma and even the opioid crisis impacted by the virus.
Do you believe that there are cures and treatments that we won't get access to as a result of the drop in enrollment?
I think there are treatments and potential cures that will be delayed in getting into the marketplace.
Although modifications like telemedicine and the home delivery of medicine has kept some trials on track, Shilsky says they don't work for every situation, which means some patients won't get the opportunity to participate in a trial that could prolong their lives.
And if you take that opportunity away from them, it certainly can dash many of their hopes for a good outcome.
Hope is the key to survival for J.P. Hiremans and many battling life-threatening illnesses. He says patients need to be active participants in their treatment and keep looking for options, even if COVID impacts their care.
Keep living. So many people give up on themselves. You can't let that happen.
You take 2 turns each, and then we'll switch, okay? We're with Arlington Travel Baseball. Run as fast as you can to the line, okay? Ready, go.
I'm here for my first baseball practice in, I don't know, long time.
Run fast, run fast, run fast. This is first practice. Some of the kids have not even met each other.
I like to play with my friends, but I can't do that as often anymore.
Spread your arms out, your elbows out. Some of them haven't done a whole lot in the last few months.
Because I didn't really get to go outside that much. All I have to do is talk to my sister, and that can't be so fun anymore. That's not that fun.
Don't move your feet.
So I'm like, finally I can do something.
Just basic stuff, basic fundamentals.
Hitting, fielding.
Charge it. There you go. Always look for the next out. We'll work on those.
We all had to go in separate spots that were like far away from each other.
Separate, separate, separate. Disinfectant wipes, we have hand sanitizers.
And we have to social distance.
Just kind of separate. So it's a lot of new things. There you go. Stick with it. I grew up in Arlington. I love this game.
Felt good that I can come back here and play with my friends.
It's crazy how it's going on right now, but we're all excited. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
People are truly struggling right now.
Food insecurity, a basic need, is immense in the Richmond Highway corridor.
Life along Route 1 in southeast Fairfax County was a challenge before the pandemic. These communities, according to census data, are among the poorest in a region teeming with wealth.
They're your neighbors. They need our help. They are hungry.
And now among the hardest hit by COVID-19 in terms of illness, job loss, and hunger.
We're just trying to survive and live. The last thing we need to be trying to figure out is how to feed our children in the midst of trying to keep ourselves and our communities healthy.
Their epicenter for assistance, the food pantry inside United Community.
You're welcome. Stay safe. It's humbling to see that something so big such as a pandemic can truly alter every single person's life at any given moment.
But two troubling trends have emerged.
So it was an absolute tsunami of people, a demand curve that we never could have expected.
Their numbers skyrocketed from 543 served in April of 2019 to 1,140 served in April of 2020, a 110% increase. And many of their clients, like Carl Barlov, are here for the very first time.
I was laid off because of the coronavirus at a major hotel facility.
Tomorrow on Good Morning Washington, it's Food Bank Friday. ABC 7 is on your side feeding the DMV. We're live at Food for All in D.C., showing you how to help fight hunger.
You can help at home. It's very easy.
Watch tomorrow on ABC 7's Good Morning Washington.
This is the epicenter, if you will. We are at the Capital Area Food Bank's main facility here in Northeast D.C., and look at this operation already this morning. You have a tremendous amount of activity going on. This is what generosity looks like.
We have a virtual check of, check this out, over $230,000. So there it is right there, our virtual check.
That was fun yesterday. That was the big reveal. ABC 7 is just so honored to have teamed up with Safeway, the Capital Area Food Bank, and the Washington Redskins, of course, for the Kick Hunger campaign. It was amazing.
Yeah, we were able to raise more than $460,000.
Back in July, Maryland froze 48,000 unemployment claims for possible fraud. That left thousands of legitimate claims in limbo. 7 on your side, I-Team reporter Scott Taylor has been fighting to get them their benefits. And tonight, many are still waiting, but the state tells us benefits are on the way.
We need our money.
For months, 7 on your side has been talking to ABC 7 News viewers about their fight to obtain their unemployment benefits in Maryland, Virginia, and D.C.
It's beyond frustrating. I can't even tell you. I mean, it's affecting me.
Thousands on social media still battling the same issues. Nobody answering at call centers.
It takes sometimes whole day to get through.
Benefits approved, but the money doesn't show up.
Nobody ever responds, not by phone, not by email, and you're the only one that responds, Scott.
Agents at call centers can't resolve issues.
When I call in and I am successfully able to get through, they have no abilities to fix any problem.
Last July in Maryland, 48,000 potential fraudulent claims were frozen. 2,500 turned out to be legitimate, and now people like Sean Jones and Rhea Phillips, who were flagged, are still in limbo.
People are being evicted. People can't pay their bills. People need help with food. I don't know what else it would take for them to take this seriously as a gigantic problem.
2 months later, and still no money.
All I knew was there was no money in the account and they locked my account. I did not find out until 2 or 3 days later on the news what was going on.
Maryland isn't responding to our questions about its total numbers of outstanding claims. Virginia has 60,000 claims with issues, and the district got shortchanged by Congress by $755 million. Since May, 7 on your side has been helping viewers. I've forwarded more than 3,000 emails to all 3 labor departments. We just helped David Mosick in D.C.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have gotten any money if it wasn't for 7 on your side.
And that was in D.C. less than 30 minutes ago as a 5th night of protest rages on across the country. People demanding justice for the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, saying they are also demonstrating against systemic racism. Right now, there are curfews in effect for about a dozen U.S. cities because of these protests.
A building that appears to be under construction on fire to the right, to my left, towards the White House. Things are getting worse and worse with each passing moment that goes by as far as this confrontation.
I tried to go in there to see real quick if there was a fire extinguisher. I called 911 and told them to get here now. This is, again, that professional office building. Sir, do you have any idea what happened here? I mean, presume an arson.
They just started vandalizing.
And you're a security guard at this building. What do you make of this, sir?
Chaos.
How many times are you guys gonna beat us, kill us like we're not like you, like I'm not like her? We have the same organs, we have the same eyes, we have the same nose. We are one people. All we want is justice. We just want to wake up in the morning and not worry about getting killed.
I am also taking swift and decisive action to protect our great capital, Washington, D.C. What happened in this city last night was a total disgrace.
They're advancing again. And now they're...
Gosh.
You see
That's
what's
a photographer. That's
going on now.
A member of the press.
Now there's just a lot of violence erupting. Ben, back up, back up. All right, I don't know. Tear gas everywhere. We're going to get off to the side here.
We understand President Trump now is on the move somewhere. Not sure where he is going, but let's keep an eye on that as he's walking out. Let's listen in. And I'm not sure if this was a photo op or this was just a stroll. I mean, I'm not sure what was going on here. But if Tom Rousey can hear us and he's got his mic open, maybe we could just listen. We can just listen for a second. And, hold on.
We have the greatest country in the world. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to keep it nice and safe.
This is an ABC 7 News Town Hall. The racial divide. Time for change.
We're at a breaking point and we have to do something.
Thousands taking to the streets right here in our communities. Millions more across the country and around the world.
What happened in the US was it was the spark that sparked it everywhere.
Rising voices united in a way we've never seen before. The death of George Floyd, a breaking point after years of racial injustice and police brutality.
This isn't just one, incident. It's just 400 years of so much stuff.
Tonight, we hear from leaders who can make a difference and the people in the streets who pledge not to stop until those changes happen.
We are angry, we are frustrated, and this is just the beginning. It will not stop here.
So what are the possible solutions, and what is our best path forward?
Not just about black people coming out saying Black Lives Matter, but we collective as a society are coming together to say that Black Lives Matter.
It's a great movement, and I'm hoping we'll get somewhere very soon.
It's time for change. The whole world is changing, man. And you got to change what? It's 2020.
And tonight here at ABC 7, we want to begin an open conversation about this time for change in our country. Good evening. I'm Michelle Marsh.
And I'm Jonathan Elias. It's good to have you along this evening. We want to have a very important and a very necessary conversation tonight. That's why we put together this town hall discussion.
That all of us have a moral obligation to hold our country to its promise that all of us should be able to enjoy justice and freedom. And I am just really, this is an exciting time to be alive and to have the opportunity to lead us to what I know will be a brighter future for our children.
All I have here is black, white, and two variants of gray.
Des Zambrano met us inside the National Museum building as he completes arguably the most important portrait of his career. One that's only a couple inches high.
Good trouble is necessary trouble, necessary to invoke change.
Zambrano and Jamal Lamage.
Here we have the layout of the jersey.
Are creating commemorative pieces of art for August 28th, the 57th anniversary of the March on Washington. Each piece honoring John Lewis, the civil rights leader and member of Congress who recently passed away.
We see what's going on right now in the lives of our brothers and sisters, and we want to say something.
Lamage's painting places three towering figures, Lewis surrounded by Dr. King and President Obama on the jersey of a team called Good Trouble. The number 23, donned by legends Michael Jordan and LeBron James, holding special meaning.
John Lewis was actually 23 years old when he spoke at the March on Washington.
This, to me, is a responsibility and an honor.
Zambrano chose another iconic symbol of sport as his canvas, the Nike Air Force One. This classic symbol of urban wear carefully covered by those who gave everything for the cause of equality.
I thought it'd be really dope to put a poignant figure on a classic silhouette of a shoe.
We brought you to this grand interior to reveal an even bigger story about the role of art within activism.
You don't make history, you're a part of it.
John Chisholm with the Paints Institute in D.C. called on gifted artists a couple months ago to create dozens of murals that now dot D.C.'s landscape. Murals expressing hope in the wake of racial unrest. Well, the National Building Museum will now host an outdoor exhibition opening August 28th featuring many of those powerful murals.
These protests were happening in our neighborhood and just a few blocks away. And to be able to be tell that story and to continue to tell that story, I'll be so excited that visitors will be able to come over and see these murals.
So plenty of good trouble coming soon to the National Building Museum. Jay Korf, ABC 7 News.
We're looking for peace. We're looking for justice. People were murdered this week, and we're out here protesting. We knew full well that we might be tear gassed, and we still went on out there anyway because it matters. Black lives, it matters. Our visibility matters. Our voices matter.
Here, you guys. Come on.
Removing the statue, and there you have it. They just removed the statue. They just successfully removed Albert Pike's statue here at Judiciary Square on Juneteenth. So you could see the protesters surrounding the statue as it goes up in flames. What kind of satisfaction are you getting from this?
Satisfaction that pieces of history that shouldn't be around are no longer around, and they're coming down.
We begin with a breaking news alert.
And that breaking news, heartbreaking from the Supreme Court. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died. She was battling metastatic pancreatic cancer. You can see right there on the left side of your screen, large crowds already gathering outside the Supreme Court. We'll take you there soon. Now, Ginsburg had spent her life fighting for women's rights. Ginsburg was 87.
Well, tonight, Chief Justice Roberts said in a statement, quote, "Our nation has lost a jurist of historic stature. We at the Supreme Court have lost a cherished colleague."
We will have team coverage from the Supreme Court to reaction coming in right now this evening. But breaking right now at 11. The President of the United States hospitalized with COVID-19.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out.
7 is on your side with complete coverage.
New insight from doctors on the task of treating the president here at Walter Reed.
And White House watchers break down the potential political fallout in a presidential campaign unlike any other.
The work began Monday here at Tacoma Park City Hall, where you'll find Board of Elections members like Matt Ling processing ballots as they come in.
We follow chain of custody rules, so there's always 2 people with the ballots at all times.
And this year, the work's also being done on camera, live streamed to the public on Tacoma Park City TV and its Facebook page every day, starting at 9 a.m.
So I think a big part of it was we wanted to ensure as much transparency as possible.
The city has previously provided a live feed on Election Day, but chose to expand on that as this is the first time most residents here will be voting by mail.
Many people are nervous about mailing their ballot. We wanted to have it all live videoed so people could see that our election officers are handling this appropriately. They can see how it works.
Tacoma Park is also unique because it allows 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in municipal elections, which means there are 2 separate ballots and 2 separate drop boxes. Ballots put in this one include the presidential race and will be collected and counted by Montgomery County elections officials. While those placed in the city drop box ask voters to choose Tacoma Park's council members and mayor.
You scan it.
And it's the city ballots that Matt is now processing.
Then it comes up their name.
On camera for everyone to see.
I think transparency is very important. They have to have faith in the electoral process.
Heather Graff.
Down to the very last second, this race has been tense, chaotic, and sometimes ugly.
Would you shut up, man?
But 7 is on your side because this election is not about politicians.
It's about you.
In one word, why do you run?
Right.
I am a U.S. citizen, and this is my right.
Our right to do so.
I'd say democracy. I would say equity. A way to have a voice. Essential.
We need to unite the country.
Our entire team is tracking the vote,
The analysis,
and the late-breaking developments to keep you alert,
informed, and empowered.
Most of these protesters believe that the 2020 presidential election belongs to President Donald Trump and not President-elect Joe Biden. Today's crowd was pale in comparison to the pro-Trump rally held back on November 14th, also here in the district. After we gathered video of the protest for around 30 minutes, 4 or 5 people started shouting fake news at me and an ABC 7 photographer. Within minutes, we were surrounded by a large group. They hurled insults and expletives and demanded that we immediately leave the area. One woman shouted, "How can you sleep at night?" One man yelled through a bullhorn while placing it directly against my right ear. Here is more of what we witnessed.
You not sleep at night!
Now, I should note that the majority of this crowd did not act aggressively towards us. In fact, several people came up, introduced themselves, and had nice things to say. But as I have learned over the years, it only takes a few people to turn something peaceful upside down.
And clean this lower parking lot up.
We were interviewing a pastor for another story we're working on when we heard a crash, then screaming behind us. When we looked around at the intersection of Southern and Branch, a Tahoe had hit a black Lincoln Town car with around 10 children inside. And the driver of the Tahoe was fleeing the scene. A passenger from the town car later telling us it was no accident, they were intentionally struck. As the Tahoe fled, others from the town car got into a screaming match with a person on the street. Someone pulled a pistol, a shot rang out, then two men were in the middle of Southern Avenue wrestling for control of the weapon, with a woman on top trying to intervene and one of the men calling for police. At that point, a car pulled up and a man we later learned was an off-duty D.C. police officer put a stop to it.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
Right on the D.C. Prince George's line, eventually officers from both jurisdictions arrived and took control of the situation. Our interviewee was as stunned as we were.
Thankfully, nobody seems to be seriously hurt, even with the gunfire going off. The guy said he was bleeding, but he's still over there, so I don't think it's too serious. And that's where we are today, Mr. Ford.
A harrowing scene unfolded on I-495 Friday involving a wayward Shih Tzu poodle mix named Astro, a dog that Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Captain Don Yingling would like to rename.
Should have named him Rocket.
Captain Yingling, firefighters Ryan Bailey, Chris Walker, and Zach Horcher were called to a multi-vehicle crash on the interstate. Leah Young was involved in that crash. While she headed to the hospital with minor injuries, her beloved year-and-a-half-old pooch, Astro, was placed in a fire department vehicle for his safety, but someone accidentally opened the door.
Yeah, as soon as the door cracked, that dog was out.
What started out initially as a game of cat and mouse quickly turned into a lopsided track meet, with Astro running for his life down a closed interstate.
We were in pretty good shape. The dog was ahead of us, but we were gaining ground on him. And then there was a break in the Jersey wall, and he made it through there, and that's when it got a little hairy.
Astro headed straight toward traffic, and in a moment that made us all gasp, he goes under a car, but amazingly resurfaces unscathed.
Our job's to protect everybody and animals and the people and everything, so we didn't want him to get over there.
Small, fluffy, and freakishly fast, the seemingly indefatigable, undeterred dog just kept going, weaving through traffic with the breakneck speed of a thoroughbred and the 9 lives of a cat. The big break for everyone came when Astro took a quick U-turn in front of a tractor-trailer.
A civilian actually stopped and actually scared him into the bushes. So once he got into the bushes, he was running up the hill, and we're able to catch him.
Captain Yingling and his team finally corralled Astro safe and sound after the 7-minute marathon chase. He's now back home in the arms of Leah Young, who tells us Astro is tired and in need of hydration. She's grateful for his guile and the firefighters who never gave up on him. Jay Korf, ABC 7 News.
Millie Bailey may be 102 years old.
I'm going to do a skydive. Sometimes it's called a tandem jump.
But this Columbia, Maryland resident is still soaring to new heights.
Well, you're an inspiration to all of us, so thank you.
This fearless World War II veteran has decided to take a leap of faith and accomplish one of her big bucket list items.
The fact that a person at that age could do the jump.
She was inspired by President George H.W. Bush's jump at age 90.
Are you nervous, Annie?
Probably a little bit.
Millie's family, friends, and Howard County neighbors joined at Skydive Baltimore.
Now, you push me out before you come out?
If you want to go on an adventure, but I think we should go together.
I mean, at 102, if I can get medical clearance for even waking up, that'll be a blessing for me. Nothing stops Aunt Millie.
Millie says she was a little nervous beforehand, but before we knew it, she jumped from 2 miles into the sky.
But I felt like I was tumbling. Just for a minute. And then I thought, no, somebody's holding on to me. It was wonderful, a real thrill. Glad that I had landed. Very just thankful that I made a safe landing.
Now, at first, she told family members that she wanted to jump again at 103 years old and then again at 104. But once she landed, she said just once is enough. In Baltimore, Caroline Patrikis, ABC 7 News.
Can you imagine? That is awesome. All right, let's talk about what's happening with the weather. We got some changes coming. What's the timeline on this tomorrow, Bill?
So the timeline's going to be tomorrow morning. We start to see some showers. It's off and on throughout the day.
We all have a story. Life passing by, like video slides, the changes, the challenges, the day-to-day, and 7 is on your side. Fighting for those who feel their voices on mute. This is who we are. This is what we do. We are there from community to community, communicating for those seeking justice, those that may not have the gloves to fight for themselves, connecting over colored lines. 7 on your side of the city. From Virginia to Maryland, Maryland to D.C., connecting the DMV. Stories from murals to monuments. We're your home base. 7 on your side, going to bat to make sure you're safe. Championing to make sure you're informed. We are here sharing the stories that make the DMV a community. To be the side you rely on to sleep better at night and rise to the day with truth. Because we know and understand that there's already enough for you to do. And through the changes and challenges, we are with you, by your side and on your side, making a difference, one story at a time.
On the western outskirts of Maryland, a past life still barely stands. Kenny Kitty grew up in this well-worn home in Pekin and went to school a stone's throw away in this now shuttered one-room building.
Me and my brother used to get up and catch ball an hour before the school bus came.
Kitty's early years were marred by poverty and haunted by heartache.
And it was a Monday morning, and I went up to get lunch money, and I found my mother dead in bed.
By the time he was 13 years old, his mom had died from pneumonia, his dad from a work accident. To make money, he went to work at a bowling alley where he saw his first billiard table, where he picked up his first pool cue, not knowing then that he had found his way out of Pekin.
It feels so good, and it gave me so much confidence. It was like stealing money when I shot for money.
Kenny Kitty did not get serious about billiards.
Practice makes perfect.
Until deep into adulthood. He was too busy taking chances elsewhere.
I rolled dice for 1,000, I won. Rolled for 2,000 and I lost. I was a gambler.
He got really good at sinking stripes and solids in his 40s.
It was like a machine, like not a human being doing it. It was like automatic.
Finding his groove in a game called Spot Shot.
This is what I shoot, right from spot to spot. It's the same shot over and over, just a spot shot.
His standard bet, $500 if he pocketed 95 out of 100 balls. He was so good, he earned the nickname Mr. Spot Shot.
It's a gift from God. I came out of a little town of Pekin, 250 people, and here I am, set the record of 1,250.
You heard right. Kenny Kitty hit 1,250 spot shots in a row in 1988 at the age of 50 in a Florida pool hall.
My jacket said Mr. Spot Shot, world record.
He also points out the person who embroidered his jacket mistakenly stitched 1150 instead of 1250.
I gambled 62 years. I quit gambling like 2 years ago.
His first love was actually betting on horses. He eventually became a trainer, which brings us to his present-day obsession. He quit the horse racing business, moved back near his boyhood home, and drives these familiar roads in a glorious ode to thoroughbreds. He had a horse sculpture bolted to his car's rear spoiler, which brings us to a friend's basement and an introduction to the new love of his life.
Oh, he's fabulous.
Claudette Phillips isn't talking about Kitty's billiard skills.
We love the Lord.
Phillips invited this now retired gambler to her church after he bugged her repeatedly for a date.
No one's like you, Kenny.
I'm not saying that, but that's why it took me over a month to get you to go out with me. She told me, she said, the only person I like is Jesus. I said, well, I like him too.
They've been together ever since.
We've been going together for 2 years. Before that, I prayed for a woman that I could take home to mother. God sent me an angel.
I can appreciate the skill that he has, really.
Kitty hasn't played seriously in years, but we were curious if he could live up to his title.
At 81 years old, I figured 90 or 95 out of 100 would be a pretty good score.
So we sat back and watched Mr. Spot Shot go to work.
14 out of 14.
The pocket's getting filled up, so I got to make room for some balls.
Kitty isn't as automatic as he used to be.
Missed.
There would be mistakes.
37 attempts, 4 misses. 54 attempts and missed 4. He's made 84 attempts and missed 10.
He didn't miss from there, knocking down 90 out of 100. Not nearly good enough, though, for Mr. Spot Shot.
Missed 10? That's a year's worth of misses.
Kenny Kitty's gifts on slate and cloth are high on his list of accomplishments, but he's most proud of returning to his roots redeemed. A life of loss and risk, replaced by so much more.
I don't pray that God will heal me. I just pray that God will give me the strength to go the second mile for him.
In Lona Koenig, Maryland, I'm Jay Korf for ABC 7 News.
Breaking right now at 11. The President of the United States hospitalized with COVID-19.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out.
7 is on your side with complete coverage.
New insight from doctors on the task of treating the president here at Walter Reed.
And White House watchers break down the potential political fallout in a presidential campaign unlike any other.
Right now, COVID-19 rules are more strict in the House than in the Senate.
What you need to know as we enter a new chapter of the COVID-19 crisis.
Now, ABC 7 News at 11. On your side. We begin with a breaking news alert.
And that breaking news at 11, the president spending the night at Walter Reed not 24 hours after revealing he's tested positive for COVID-19. He experienced symptoms today, which reportedly include fever and fatigue.
And just in, he is receiving a dose of remdesivir following experimental antibody treatment that we'll detail in just a moment. Now, we should also point out that First Lady Melania Trump is in isolation at the White House. Their son Barron is negative, as well as Vice President Pence.
Joe Biden, who shared the debate stage with the president on Tuesday, has also tested negative before heading to the hospital. President Trump recorded a video message posted to Twitter.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
As we continue to monitor what's happening in Washington and Bethesda, we'll have team coverage for you tonight.
Of course, there is a lot to cover tonight. 7 on your side's Heather Graff will have an update from doctors about risk factors the president faces.
Jay Korf is following campaign 2020 developments, but first, national correspondent James Rosen breaks down what has happened since the president's revealing tweet this time last night.
I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital.
Earlier, Mr. Trump posted a video on Twitter in which he spoke in subdued voice, but offered a flash of humor as he assured the country, as well as world leaders and global markets, that he and the First Lady are in good spirits and reasonably good health.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well.
In periodic updates, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said the president had been, quote, working hard, placing telephone calls to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, and that he will continue to work out of Walter Reed's presidential offices.
The president does have mild symptoms.
In remarks to reporters Friday morning, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows alluded to what was said in published reports to be a low-grade fever, while also striving to convey a picture of a president fully engaged.
We've talked a number of times this morning. I got the 5 or 6 things that he had tasked me to do, like I do every single morning.
Kayleigh McEnany said the public learned of the Trump's test results within an hour, and the world was able to watch in close to real time the president's trip to Walter Reed, early displays of transparency that contrast favorably with some predecessors, such as Franklin Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy, who kept major medical problems from the public for years. On Capitol Hill, James Rosen.
President Trump was the oldest to assume the office when he took the oath in 2017. Now at 74, he is old enough to be placed in a higher risk category. 7 on your side's Heather Graff is outside Walter Reed Medical Center tonight. And Heather, you just spoke with a doctor who has treated COVID-19 and understands these risk factors.
Well, that's right, Carl. And what just a whirlwind 24 hours that has led us to this point. President Trump here at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. There is no question the world is watching. To my left is a line of cameras and journalists that have been here for hours. And behind me is the hospital, along with a group of the president's supporters who have been here holding signs and flags outside the hospital gates.
This video shows Marine One arriving at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda, with members of the media and members of the public capturing the moment on cameras and cell phones. Shortly after that, we saw President Donald Trump emerge from the helicopter wearing a mask as he climbed down the steps. The White House has said the president's visit here is precautionary, and he plans to continue working from the military hospital's presidential suite over the next few days. As for President Trump's current condition since contracting COVID-19, the White House has released few details, but we've been told he's experiencing mild symptoms, including fatigue and a low-grade fever. On Friday, we spoke to a cardiac surgeon at Inova Fairfax Hospital in nearby Northern Virginia.
This disease does not discriminate. It can affect anyone, anywhere, at any time.
We want to be clear, Dr. Ramesh Singh is not at all involved in the president's care, but he has treated many coronavirus patients over the last few months. And we asked him how important these next few days will be for both the president and his medical team.
Everybody has a little bit of a different course. Initially, they may seem like they're quite mild, and they may stay that way. What's important is to be vigilant. What's important is to continue checking up and keeping an eye and just see how things are progressing, and hopefully they stay stable and you get over it just like you would any other illness that you might have.
And also present here tonight are Montgomery County Police. You can see they've blocked off the entrance to the hospital here on Rockville Pike as President Donald Trump prepares to spend the night here at Walter Reed. That is the very latest live tonight in Bethesda. Heather Graff, ABC 7 News.
Heather, thank you. The White House says President Trump is being treated with an experimental antibody cocktail that studies show can reduce the level of the virus and improve symptoms. The cocktail is made by the biotech firm Regeneron, which has offices in the district. The company's co-founder described what he believes the treatment's benefits are to ABC News today.
because of its apparently strong data suggesting antiviral activity, lowering of the virus, and potential to help people exactly in this situation. They deem that based on the risk-benefit, it'd be worth trying it.
Now, unlike a vaccine, which is designed to cause an immune response that produces antibodies, this treatment provides the antibodies directly. And tonight, growing concern that the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court was a super spreader event. At least 6 people have since tested positive for COVID-19, including Senator Mike Lee of Utah, seen right there. We just learned his colleague on the Senate Judiciary Committee as well, Tom Tillis, has tested positive, as well as Kellyanne Conway. University of Notre Dame President Reverend John Jenkins also has COVID-19. The president and first lady make it 5 and 6, so 6 total there. The event was tightly packed, and few people wore masks.
Well, over the next few days, you are likely to hear terms like isolation and quarantine more than ever. Now, 7 is on your side with just how those two are different. Now, isolation is separating a sick person from people who are not sick. That's according to the CDC, which also defines quarantine as separating and restricting movement of people who were exposed to a contagious disease. That's to see if they become sick.
Now, because former Vice President Biden and running mate Senator Kamala Harris were not deemed to have been in close contact with President Trump, they are not in quarantine. They've been on the trail today. Harris recently wrapping up a stop in Nevada, and Biden, who was in Michigan, and had this to say about President Trump's illness.
My wife Jill and I prayed that they'll make a quick and full recovery. This is not a matter of politics. It's a bracing reminder to all of us that we have to take this virus seriously.
Now, former President Obama also tweeted support for President Trump and First Lady Melania, saying he's hoping for a speedy recovery, but then also providing a message amid the political battles, writing, quote, "Let's remember that we're all Americans, we're all human beings." It is your voice, your vote, of course, and it seems like every 4 years there's what's called the October surprise, right? Well, this is one for the ages. No one's seen anything like this. As we all hope everyone who has contracted the coronavirus has a swift recovery, the reality is Election Day isn't changing. ABC 7's Jay Korf is outside the White House tonight. Jay?
Yeah, good evening, Michelle. Spoke with 2 political scientists tonight here in the area who say, you know, with the election this closely contested and so close to election night, well, you know, something like this where somebody can't campaign, that can be problematic.
Thank you. We don't know how this is going to impact the debates, as well as it's going to impact other kind of public events. So there's a big shock to that.
Political scientists Hans Knoll and his colleague at Georgetown University, Jamil Scott,
this might have an impact on Election Day.
Chatted with me about the implications of President Trump contracting COVID-19.
We will make America great again. Thank you, Minnesota.
They suspect, due to Mr. Trump's absence now on the campaign trail, that his health and COVID in general will remain the nation's top concern while people are actively voting, which Knoll says does not play to the president's strengths.
There are things that people think the president handles fairly well, and there are things that people think the president has not handled well, and COVID is one of the latter.
President Trump contracting COVID-19 is a level of proof of purchase that this is real and this is really happening in the United States.
Professor Scott suspects the vice president's role will now be elevated, and to look to his debate with Senator Kamala Harris next week as a bellwether in how the president hopes to be viewed by voters, whether they are casting ballots now or in person in only weeks.
There are some folks on the margins who we have to think about turnout being pivotal for them, and these conversations in the next coming weeks being pivotal for them because they're less likely to turn out. And so what's happening now could matter for them.
And while both professors told me tonight that while most voters have probably made up their mind at this point, if this election turns out to be razor thin, everything matters. Reporting live outside the White House, Jay Korf, ABC 7 News.
Well, this has also become a big issue on the Hill with questions about testing there, not just for elected officials, but their staffers who live here in D.C. and could spread COVID as well.
ABC 7's Justin Hinton spoke with 2 congressmen about protocols in place that differ depending on which chamber you occupy.
2 chambers, 2 different rules when it comes to following COVID-19 protocols, as discussed by Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland.
There's not a mask requirement in the Senate. There is now one in the House of Representatives.
Now that the president revealed he tested positive for COVID-19, Van Hollen says he wants to see the rules tightened in Congress and across the country, especially when it comes to testing.
We've been making it very clear, many of us, that everybody who works on Capitol Hill needs to have testing available to them, just as we need to make sure that happens around the country.
His words echoed in one part of Senator Chuck Schumer's statement. He says, "This episode demonstrates that the Senate needs a testing and contact tracing program for senators, staff, and all who work in the Capitol complex. We simply cannot allow the administration's cavalier attitude to adversely affect this branch of government." He goes on to say those results should become public to determine if senators or staffers need to quarantine or self-isolate. That would in turn prevent the potential for D.C. to have a spike in cases, since many who work on the Hill live in the district. Republican Representative Andy Harris of Maryland says the lack of routine testing is one criticism he's also heard.
I think that there is some value to routine testing.
And again, not just for members of Congress.
Maybe just once a week, just so you get an idea. In medicine, it's just surveillance. I mean, you get an idea as to whether or not there is a prevalence of disease within some group, and that group could be congressional staffers.
And depending on where those staffers would get tested, DC Health could be responsible for the contact tracing. From Capitol Hill, Justin Hinton, ABC 7 News.
Now, a quick reminder, you can count on ABC 7 for immediate updates right here on air, but you can also download the free ABC 7 News app to get breaking alerts pushed straight to your device and stream our live newscasts.
Well, new and next at 11, we can't forget that Virginia's first family is also fighting off the coronavirus right now. Governor Ralph Northam providing an update on his and his wife's conditions.
And still ahead, as Mr. Trump rests at Walter Reed tonight, the sprawling campus's place in presidential history, from health scares to conspiracy theories.
And the cold front rolled through and temperatures are corresponding. There's a frost advisory out. Places like Woodstock and Shenandoah County, you guys are under that. We'll show you how cold it's going to get, how long it's going to last as well. Plus, our next weather maker coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, if you are just joining us late tonight, more breaking news from Walter Reed, where we're learning President Trump is receiving a dose of remdesivir. That follows an experimental antibody treatment earlier today. He will spend the next few nights at Walter Reed, and we also have some breaking news to update you on. According to CNN, they're reporting tonight that Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien has also tested positive for COVID-19.
All right, so closer to Virginia now, let's not forget that Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is COVID-19 positive and just provided an update as well. Today, he tweeted that he's not showing any symptoms 1 week after that positive result. He says his wife, Pam, is showing some mild symptoms. The governor is also sending his best wishes to the president and First Lady Melania Trump, as well as all Americans fighting coronavirus.
Well, when news broke that President Trump would indeed be going to the hospital and spending the night there, it raised concerns across Washington.
That's right. Here's ABC 7's Dave Lucas with perspective now on Walter Reed's place in presidential history and health scares, none bigger in recent memory than when Reagan was shot.
And that happened March 30th, 1981. The president was shot and badly wounded by John Hinckley Jr. as he walked to his limo outside the Washington Hilton. Mr. Reagan was rushed to nearby George Washington University Hospital, where he was reportedly close to death at admission. He was stabilized, and just before being sedated for surgery, the president joked with the operating room personnel he hoped they were all Republicans. They laughed, and one surgeon said, "Today, sir, we are all Republicans." Most of the presidential medical drama was played out at Walter Reed Army Hospital and the Naval National Medical Center, both in Bethesda. Back in 1955, then-President Dwight Eisenhower was treated for not one, but 2 heart attacks. He survived both and a stroke later the same year and went on to serve 2 full terms as president. General Eisenhower died at the Bethesda Medical Center in March of 1969. Perhaps the most consequential treatment of a U.S. president was that of John F. Kennedy in November of 1963. It happened after the president had been shot down in the streets of Dallas. Texas authorities wanted to have the autopsy performed there, but Secret Service agents managed to get the president's body inside the bronze casket and on board Air Force One, then flown back to what was then Andrews Air Force Base. That allowed the presidential post-mortem to be done at Walter Reed Hospital. Dave Lucas, ABC 7 News.
A lot to take in there, and no matter what, we are witnessing history. Again, President Trump is spending the night at Walter Reed under close watch of some of the best doctors in the world. As you look at that live look of some of his supporters standing outside the gates there. We will keep you updated as the situation develops right here on ABC 7. You can also stream our newscast and get updates on WJLA.com. All right, we do want to get, though, a check on the weather heading into the weekend. I think we could all use a break after this week.
Yeah, and thank goodness, Bill. Looks like it's one that will be good to get outdoors this weekend.
Really nice to get outdoors, guys. It's going to be lots of sunshine tomorrow. A few more clouds on your Sunday, but it will be cool. It will be a nice fall weekend. Out the door tomorrow morning, mid and low 40s. Some of you in the outlying spots, or at least the farther west spots here, along 81 and areas off to the west. Frost advisory in effect, so you're going to get down in the upper 30s, low 40s. Then tomorrow, cool afternoon temperatures, mid-60s. A great day to get outside and enjoy some fall weather. If you haven't overseeded your grass yet, by the way, if you're somebody that does that, this is a good weekend to do that while the soil temperatures are still high. Guess what I'm doing this weekend? There you go. We have high pressure that is now built in, so it's quiet in our region, but I do want to draw your attention down to the Gulf because we have just fresh tonight another brand new system, Tropical Storm Gamma, 40-mile-per-hour winds. This is the 11 o'clock update. Going to be over the Yucatan tomorrow and through the weekend. There it is by Monday morning, 45-mile-per-hour winds. We get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Forecast to strengthen a little bit up to about 50 miles per hour, but at this point remaining a tropical storm. At this point, remaining down into the Gulf. But what makes it significant is now we are just 3 storms away from tying the all-time record. That would be Zeta, that we had back in 2005. And there's still a lot of hurricane season left, really. It doesn't end until late November. So we got 60s over the weekend. Monday is our next chance of some wet weather. That's mainly Monday morning. Then we're dry it out for Tuesday. A little bump up in our temperatures before yet another cold front sweeps through here on Wednesday. Some evening showers, dropping it back down into the 60s with lows in the 40s. Light coat tomorrow morning. Pretty nice in the afternoon. Olivia, we'll send it over to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Coming up, we'll hear from a certain voice many of you Wizards fans may know. Game 2 of the NBA Finals just wrapping up right here on ABC 7. We'll have all your highlights next. Stay with us.
And now, the Toyota Sports Desk, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers.
All right, Game 2 of the NBA Finals in the books. LeBron and the Lakers shooting for a 2-0 start in the Heat. Well, they're trying to prove injuries won't cut their NBA Finals short. Now, the Lakers continuing their good play from Game 1. LeBron to Davis for the slam, the chemistry. Later, Rajon Rondo being Rondo in the playoffs. 10 assists on the night. This one to LeBron James. LA led by 18 at one point. Miami battles back, though. Jimmy Butler, the drive and the slam. He went for it tonight, but too much Anthony Davis. The Slam Lakers now with a 2-0 lead with a win in Game 2. LeBron knows that Davis is the key for LA.
He's a big-time player. He understands the position that he's in. He understands how much our team needs him, and he comes through.
You know, both have that elite ability to score and to read defense. So, again, big reason. Those two were huge tonight.
MVP, maybe? I don't know. LeBron James proving age is just a number. He's proven it these last 2 games while he plays in his 10th NBA Finals. We all have the debate. LeBron, Michael, LeBron, Jordan, excuse me. But if he gets this championship, is he the greatest? I asked former Wizards play-by-play announcer Steve Buckhantz that very question. Is James truly one of a kind?
He's unstoppable. He just knows every trick in the trade. Not that he's a trickster, because he's a tremendous athlete. There's almost, if you watch him, there's virtually no way to stop him. And when he's on and when he's got his head into it like he has, you know, right now he's the greatest player in the league. He's been that way for a while.
Unstoppable. And tomorrow, Georgetown will be hosting a virtual memorial for Hall of Fame coach John Thompson Jr. It will stream on Facebook Live via the Georgetown University page beginning at noon. We'll be right back.
Oh, real quick, take a look at your screen right there. You see that orange glow? That's the rocket launched from Wallops Island heading toward the International Space Station.
Now, if you were with us yesterday, you might remember it not only has experiments in food, but a $23 million toilet on board designed to recycle waste more efficiently than ever. Hopefully, it also comes with a lifetime supply of toilet tissue for that price.
Liquid plumber.
Yeah. Well, we are going to take a quick break before a final check on the forecast when we come back.
You'll definitely want the light coat out the door tomorrow morning. Temperatures in the 40s, mid-60s for your high temperatures. A great fall weekend. Then we're tracking another weather maker. A few morning showers here on your Monday, and then another cold front sweeping through here Wednesday night into Thursday. That may bring us a few showers, but we'll bump our temperatures back down again. But enjoy beautiful fall weather, guys.
All right, Bill, thank you very much, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Be sure to stay with ABC 7 on air and online at WJLA.com for continuing coverage on the president's health. Good night.